Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privigacharya Ashtotar Sarasri Srimad ऐसी भक्ति स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंसा परिवकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति से सुता गौर प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री लालिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दस्स रघुनाथ सदगोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद कीजिए। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गौरान कीजिए। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम कीजिए। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम कीजिए। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम कीजिए। गंगामय जमुनामय कीजिए। श्रीमती तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी कीजिए। सामवेत भक्त वृंद कीजिए। हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ कीजिए। ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण कीजिए। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glorious assembly devotees, all glorious assembly devotees, all glorious assembly devotees. Glorious, all glorious Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're continuing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 12. Rahugana converses with Jad Bharat. Today is text number 7. Sochiyan Iman Tvam Adhikasta Dinan Vistaya Nigrihan Niranugraha Asi Janmasya Gopatsmi Vikata Manaha Na Sabhasa Viradha Sabhasu Driste. Sochayana imam tamam adhikasta dinanan. Vistaya nirgahana niranugara asi. Janasya gopatsyami vaikakata havanono. Na sabhase vridha sabhasu dristi. Anyone want to try? Janasya Gautasmi Vikata Mano Nasapase Vridha Sapasu Drista. Socha Imam Sasta Dinan. Janasya Gopasmi Vikata Mana Nasabhase Vridha Sabasu Dristaha. Sochayan lamentable. Imam all these. Tvam you. Adhikasta Dinan poor persons suffering more pains because of their poverty, stricken position. Vistaya by force. Nigrahan seizing. Niranugraha you have no mercy in your heart. Janasya of the people in general. Gopata asmi I am the protector, the king. Vikata smana bragging. Na sabhase you do not look very good. Vridha sabhaso in the society of learned persons. Drista simply impudent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Srila Prabhupada. It is a fact, however, that these innocent people carrying your palanquin without payment are certainly suffering due to this injustice. Their condition is very lamentable because you have forcibly engaged them in carrying your palanquin. This proves that you are cruel and unkind. Yet, due to false prestige, you were thinking that you were protecting the citizens. This is ludicrous. You are such a fool that you could not have been. You are such a fool that you could not have been adored as a great man in an assembly of persons advanced in knowledge. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. King Rahugana was proud of being a king. He felt that he had the right to control the citizens as he liked, but actually he was engaging men in carrying his palanquin without payment, and therefore he was causing them trouble without reason. Nonetheless, the king was thinking that he was the protector of the citizens. Actually, the king should be representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For this reason, he is called Naradevata, the Lord among human beings. However, when a king thinks that because he is the head of the state, he can utilize the citizens for his sense gratification, this is an error. Such an attitude is not appreciated by learned scholars. According to the Vedic principles, the king should be advised by learned sages, the Brahmanas and scholars, who advise him according to the injunctions given in the Dharma Shastra. The duty of the king is to follow these instructions. Learned circles do not appreciate the king's utilizing public endeavor for his own benefit. His duty is to give protection to the citizens instead. The king should not become such a rogue that he exploits the citizens for his own benefits. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in Kali Yuga, the heads of government will be plunderers and thieves. These thieves and plunderers take money and property of the public by force or convenience. Therefore, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Rajanyar Nirgunayar Dasyu Dharma Bhi. As Kali Yuga advances, we can see that these characteristics are already visible. We can certainly imagine how deteriorated human civilization will be by the end of Kali Yuga. Indeed, there will be no longer a sane man capable of understanding God and our relationship with Him. In other words, the human beings will be just like animals. At that time, in order to reform human society, Lord Krishna will come in the form of Kalki Avatar. His business will be to kill all the atheists because ultimately the real protector is Vishnu or Krishna. The Lord incarnates and sets things in order when things are mismanaged by the so-called kings and heads of government. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharati bhavarta. Of course, this takes many years, but the principle is there. When the king or the government head does not follow the proper principles, nature deals out the punishment in the form of wars, famines, and so forth. Therefore, if the governmental head is not aware of life's goal, he should not take charge of ruling the people. Actually, the supreme proprietor of everything is Lord Vishnu. He is the maintainer of everyone. The king, the father, and the guardian are simply representative of Lord Vishnu, empowered by him to look after the management and maintain things. It is therefore the duty of the head of state to maintain the general populace in such a way that people will ultimately know the goal of life. Nate vidhu sarvata gatim hi Vishnu. Unfortunately, the foolish governmental head and the general populace do not know that the ultimate goal of life is to understand and approach Lord Vishnu. Without this knowledge, everyone is in ignorance. All society is crowded with characters with cheaters and cheated. Om Jnana Tramanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuzumiltam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, continuing from yesterday, as I was saying, that the king is supposed to be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now here also in the purport, Prabhupada is confirming the same, that the king, and not just the king, even the parents, even the guardians, they are all supposed to be in some way or other representative of the Supreme Lord. And according to the Dharma Shastra, or the scriptures promoting religious welfare is promoting this knowledge that our business is to know Krishna or surrender to Krishna or inquire about him, at least. So as I mentioned yesterday, that King Vena was going little deviant, and the Brahmanas corrected this course correction, and Prithu Maharaj came, and when Prithu Maharaj came, he re-established the principle of dharma and how a king should be ruling the citizens with due care and protection. And also, part of the king's duty is to engage the general populace in engaging in very cultural activities. What we see today, as Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport also, that the so-called modern-day governmental heads are plunderers, cheaters, and they cheat everyone. And they take things for granted, that just because they have been voted in by popular vote, therefore they can have full control of everyone, and misuse the governmental machinery and the finances which are being given to the government by the populace, because the general populace, people, in the citizens, they work hard and then they are taxed. And when they don't get anything in return, then obviously the people will be very upset, because ultimately the government is taxing you for the purpose for welfare. And welfare, whose welfare? Not the king and his family, but the welfare of the general society. But they plunder the money. There's one example of one so-called president of one West African country. I will not name the country, but it was a West African country. And he plundered his country to such an extent that the general populace, who are actually the rightful owner of the resources of the country, were not given to them, but he plundered all these resources and accumulated millions of dollars. And he put those millions of dollars in one of the Swiss banks here. And at that time, the amount was $93 million. There was a lot of money, some 50 years back. You know, in today's money, 93 million will probably be increased into 10 folds. Anyway, the point is that this president, he put his money here in Switzerland in the bank here, and because Swiss banking system is such that it is not everybody is aware of that. It is a kind of very secretive way you can hide your money and nobody knows about it. So this so-called president, you know, at the age of about 60, he had a heart attack and he died. So when he died, then obviously the country will mourn a little bit. If it was good to some people, most people will curse him that thank God he's dead, you know, because they don't like, as mentioned in the purport here. But anyway, that is not the point. The point is that when he died, the governmental instrument continued, and they elected a new president and continued. But meanwhile, the money is still in the bank. Now, the Swiss banking system is such that if the money is in the bank and the person who owns that account has not claimed this money, then it goes to the Swiss government. So Swiss government generally sees, you know, through their system that how much movement is there in the account. Is there any incoming new money? Is there some money going out? You know, this is always going on. So after some time, they see in the system that this account has been dormant for more than a year. So after that 1 year period, they try to locate, because they have on their database the address of the person who owns the account. So they write letter to that person, of course not telling in the letter that we have so much money, saying what is happening to your account. And if they don't get any reply after 2 or 3 times, then the Swiss government will say, okay, this person is not in existence anymore. So what they do is they take their money and use it for their own purpose. But at the back, there's, I think, I forget now, but there's some condition that after some years, they will still wait if the person turns up. Or if the person has written a will, and in the will he has made some kind of executive person that he will execute my will and the money will go to this and this person or so forth. But after some period, if nothing comes, then the government benefits. So the point is that this person, he plundered his country, $93 million, and meanwhile his citizens are suffering in poverty and want of basic necessities. They were not provided for. So this example is Prabhupada says that this in Kali Yuga, this kind of plunderers will come and become head of states. And some places where there were kings have been removed forcefully by the public and replaced them by the democratically elected person. Either way, if he's a king or democratically elected person, if he's not following the principle of Dharma as mentioned in this particular verse, then that person is not suitable to take that position. So here, of course, we are not talking about the modern day governmental heads, but see, when Prabhupada wrote this purport, it was way back in the early 70s. Now, some 40 years later, we see how Kali Yuga is. As Prabhupada says, as time progresses, things are going to get worse and worse and worse. So, King Rahugana was abusing his position. And Jada Bharat, as a very learned Brahmana and also self-realized person, is trying to advise him to be mindful of his position and correct himself. So, of course, the scripture doesn't condemn any leader unless the leader is completely deviant and it doesn't take advice. So, in the Vedic system of cultural society, it is said that whoever is the king, he has some Brahmanical advisors and scholars, learned people, who will advise him and guide him based on the Dharma Shastra or the religious scriptures. And when the king takes the advice, then obviously he will execute his duty perfectly. Otherwise, what will happen is he will misuse his position out of ignorance. Whether you do things out of ignorance or knowingly, you will still suffer the reaction of it. Just like, in our own case, whether we perform sinful activity knowingly or unknowingly, still there are consequences. Now, the law of karma doesn't look at this from a different point of view, saying, well, okay, this person performs sinful activities unknowingly. So therefore, he'll be exempted from suffering or getting reaction for karma. He will still get the same, either way. So whether we do it knowingly or unknowingly or innocently, still we have to pay for our karma. So in this regard, there is one story of one sage. In his childhood, he was very playful, and during his childhood, he used to pick up small insects, and then they would take a thorn and they would put the thorn right in the backside of the insect, and enjoy. He's saying this is play. Of course, the child doesn't know that he's causing pain to the poor insect, because as we know now, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that whether you are a small insect, or whether you're a human being, or you're a big elephant, each living entity is a soul, same size and same potential of the soul. The soul is not that because it's in insect body, it is a smaller soul, or it is less sensitive to pain and pleasure. It's all the same. So this young boy was doing these kind of things, and then of course when you pierce a small insect like that with the thorn, it dies. So the insect dies, and the child is still thinking, oh, this is fun. And as he's growing up, then he learns, he comes into contact with some spiritual leader, some guru, he takes shelter, and then he becomes a great sage. And when he became a great sage, he was a proponent of Vedic culture. He was preaching and correcting everyone to follow the principle of Vedic culture. Now, meanwhile, the sage was doing his business, and he was living in a small hermitage on the outskirts of the city. And in the city, in the palace of the king, one rogue went there and he stole some artifacts from the palace. And then he was running away with a bag full of artifacts. As he was running, the soldiers were running after him to catch him. Now, as he was going, he ran further to the outskirts of the city, and he came to the hermitage of the sage, and he dumped all the stuff he has stolen from the palace and said, later on, I'll come back and I'll retrieve it. So meanwhile, he dumps his stolen goods and runs away. And the soldiers who are coming, they saw the bag in which all the artifacts were kept. So they immediately said, okay, this is king's property. So they took all the stolen good back to the king and the sage. Because I said, you have found the stolen goods. Now, of course, they did not see the person who stole his face. They just saw a person running. So they thought that this must be the person who stole, and he is staying here in this hermitage. So the sage and the stolen artifacts were taken back to the palace, and it was restored back in his rightful place. And then the sage was brought in front of the king. Now, of course, in modern days, we have these so-called lawyers and judges and courts where you go and solve your disputes on a mundane basis. But here, the king is always in a position to administer judgment. So the king is sitting there and he looks at the sage, says, you are looking such a saintly person. Why did you steal? And the sage said, well, I did not steal. But the king says, we only go by proof. See, even in modern day court, when the judge is sitting there, he will judge based on the evidence produced in front of him. He will not go by anything. Just like, I don't know here in Switzerland, but in UK, we have a lady standing with a scale, and there's a blindfold on her eyes. So that we will not see anything except the evidence. That's a symbolic representation. So the king saying, since you have no proof that you did not do it, and you were caught red-handed with the artifacts, so therefore you will be administered punishment. And the punishment was that he would be taken into the courtyard of the public place, and there will be a big log with a sharp point. And then you will be placed on that, and by your weight of your body, you will slowly go down, and this sharp log will go inside your body, and then you will die. And the punishment was administered like this for the purpose to show the other people that if you do these things, you will also face the same consequences. And he died. And later on when he died, the body was there, but the soul went to the court of Yamaraj. Because, of course, when you have done even a tiny percentage of sinful activity, then you still have to go to the courtyard of Yamaraj. And then Yamaraj will then look at his data bank and says what you have done, when you have done, how you have done, all these things. And then the soul will then get even more punishment. So this sage, when he was in the courtyard of Yamaraj, he told Yamaraj that, my dear Yamaraj, why was I administered this? The king was wrong because I'm a sage and I'm presenting dharma and I'm teaching people the rightful thing to do. And here I am administered this punishment and I was forced to die like this. Yamaraj said, yes, you may be a sage, you may have done wonderful things, but in your childhood, what were you doing? And then, of course, Yamaraj told him exactly what he was doing in his childhood, taking insects and putting thorns in the backside of the insects. So that punishment is being given to you, that karma comes back. So the point of this story is also a moral behind this, is that whatever we do innocently or knowingly still will be administered punishment. And there's double punishment. There's one punishment will be given to us on the planet here by the society, with the court and the judge, and they will look at the whatever criminal activities you have done, and you will be then faced with the punishment administered by the law of the land. The next one is going to be with Yamaraj, and Yamaraj will then look at all the stuff you have done, and accordingly that the soul, as in the fifth canto, as we are reading the fifth canto now, is that there is that whole section of different planets of hellish region, where they administer different kinds of punishment. And this is actually a very small portion in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But in Garud Purana, is very more detailed given. So, nonetheless, if you are interested in what's going to happen, then you could look up in the Garud Purana. But I advise you, better you just accept what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, because as Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Puranas, and therefore we are getting a glimpse of these things. And if you cannot learn something from this, then even if you read the whole Garud Purana, you will not learn anything, except that you will be more knowledge in what happens in the hellish planets. But other than that, it will not help you. So, this story of King Rahogana is very important, that because he inherited the kingdom, he thought he is the rightful owner of everything. He is the Lord and Master, and therefore he said he can do anything he likes without discrimination. So in the purport we see that Prabhupada is saying that he was abusing and he was using these palanquin carriers and not even giving any remuneration. Now in any society, if you do render any service, either you will get some payment or you get some kind of remuneration in kind, But you will get some reward. And that is the nature of this world. That for every service you render, you must get something. Otherwise, nobody will do anything for free. Sometimes we do things out of love for someone. So suppose, say, you have a friend and he is moving house. So you help him move his belongings from one place of residence to his new house out of friendship. But then you see this friend who is receiving this service from you will not just accept and say, yes, okay, fine, thank you for moving my things for me. He will actually probably, host you, give you a meal or something, and he'll reciprocate with you. So even if you do something out of kindness, there is some reciprocation. But here it is said that because King Rahogana was abusing the palanquin carriers, and then he was not giving their due deserves, then Jad Bharat is chastising him. That even though you are king, doesn't mean that you can do anything you like. There are still norms of society which one must follow. So in order, as I was saying yesterday also, that if the society wants to run properly, then there are rules and regulations which govern the society, so that if you follow these rules and regulations, then the society which we live in will be very peaceful and harmonious. And if the society is very peaceful and harmonious, then you will be satisfied and content with your life. And when you are actually content with your life, then what would you do? You would then inquire about the higher knowledge of life and actually come to the point where what is the purpose of your existence. But right now what's happening is that because everybody is so busy trying to maintain their life, they don't have time for spiritual inquiry. And nobody is making that spiritual inquiry. But sometimes, in our own experience, every one of us will ask this question. Okay, I'm here, whether as a devotee or a non-devotee, I'm in this material world. What is the purpose of my being here? Why I'm here? And if you then take that question which comes from the heart, why I am here, what is my purpose in life, and look for an answer for that, and inquire about these things, and not be satisfied until you get a satisfactory answer, then you will keep inquiring until you get satisfactory answer. Now, when you make these inquiries, then the Lord in the heart, Paramatma, is looking at you, saying, okay, you are now making some serious inquiries. As in the Vedanta Sutra it says, Athato Brahma Jignasha, that therefore now we inquire about Brahman. So now actually when you start inquiring about who you are, why you are, what is the purpose of you, that means that you are now actually qualified to be a human being. Only in human being this potential is there to inquire. Animals, they don't inquire. Only human beings inquire. Why? We are curious. We want to know why. Just like most if you're a grihastha and you have a young child, the child, when he's born, he doesn't speak. He just lies there, and sometimes he gargles. And when you are playful with the child, maybe the child will smile, or it will cry. But other than that, the child cannot communicate with you. But this child is growing and is learning words, is learning to communicate. At the age of 3, he generally can put sentence together and actually think for itself. So a 3-year-old child will then begin to ask questions to the parents. Why is this like this? Why is this like this? Always why? Jai Jagannath Pradeshwar. So the child is always inquiring, because this is natural thing which is given to a human being, the ability to inquire. So the child will inquire. Now the child is... some psychologists made a presentation saying, on average, a 3-year-old plus child, will ask something like 300 questions in a day. So, can you imagine, you're sitting at home, minding your own business, doing your thing, and the child comes, Mommy, Daddy, why? And you get so upset with this, he says, just be quiet and don't do this. But the child, he wants to learn. It is natural. So he's inquiring, but to you, it may seem a silly thing he's asking. Sometimes they ask, why the sky is blue? Now to you, you don't even think why the sky is blue. Because you are now grown up, you have more intelligence, so these things are trivial to you. But a 3-year-old child, when he looks at the sky, and says, why is it blue? Why is it blue? And he comes and asks you that question, when you don't have an answer, so what do you do? You get angry with the child. Don't ask stupid questions. Just be quiet and just go and play. So, but the point I want to make here is that inquisitiveness is there in all human beings. And what you inquire will give you knowledge. Now, you can inquire about the materialistic world, or you can inquire about spiritual nature. So, Vyasadeva, when he wrote Vedanta Sutra, he writes the first aphorism, the first sentence in the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jignasha, that you make this subjective inquiry about the higher nature of existence or life or Brahman or the Supreme Lord. And when you come to that point, then you're going to make your life successful, because this human life is meant for that person, to inquire about the Supreme. And once you get to know the Supreme Lord, then you know what is your duty towards the Supreme Lord, and then you start serving and reciprocate with the Lord in the principle of bhakti, where Krishna himself also is giving us so many instructions in the Bhagavad Gita that through service, through devotion, you can serve the Supreme Lord, and then the Supreme Lord will reciprocate with you, and he will guide you and take you out of this darkness or ignorance and bring you on level of knowledge, and this knowledge will then help you progress in your life. So as I said, when the king or the governmental head, they make arrangements in such a way in the society that everybody is taken care of, their basic needs, there's no anxiety, and they're not running around just headlessly from day to morning till night, working on a few pennies here, a few pennies there, and buy your provisions, and you're so caught up in that you don't have time. Just like in our own experience also. When we are preaching, people say, yes, it's very nice, but I don't have time. Well, time we all have. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, all of us have been given 24 hours in the day. Nobody's getting a second less or second more. Everyone has 24 hours. Now, how we utilize our time is up to us. Because just like, say, just to understand this concept, you work very hard, Monday to Friday, 5 days a week you work hard, and at the end of your 5 days working week, I don't know in this country, but in UK, on a Friday afternoon at 3:45, your foreman will come with a little brown envelope, and it's got your week's wages with a slip saying, you worked so many hours, this is your money, and in this, you work so many hours, so this was your pay. Out of this much we have taken out as a government tax, this, and after all that, this is the money you get, and you get your money. So you open your packet and say, wow, I've got no money. So now you have this money, what are you going to do with this money? You're going to be very, very careful, because you know it took you 5 days to work, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you're working. It's hard work to earn money. So when you get your money, you don't just squander it. You think very carefully how you're going to spend your money, because you know the value of that money, that it took so much hard work to earn that money. So now, because you know the value of the money, you will be very, very careful in spending. I give this another example, my personal example. When I was a 12-year-old young boy, and I used to go to my father and say, Dad, all my friends are getting pocket money. So how come you don't give me pocket money? So my father told me, son, do you get food every day? I said, yes, Dad. Are you getting all the clothing you require? Yes, Dad. You have a place to stay? Yes, Dad. Then what do you want money for? I'm giving you everything you need. But my friends are getting money. So my father said, if you want pocket money, you go and get a job on a Saturday. Or what we do in England is we go to the newsagent and ask the newsagent that, do you have a job for me? And early at 5 o'clock you go to the newsagent, pick up the newspaper, and on the newspaper the address number of the house is written. So you take your shoulder bag with the newspaper and you go every house which is commissioned the newspaper, and you give the newspaper to each house. And after 1 week of doing that, you get 2 pounds for a whole week. So after working all week, especially getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and on a cold morning, it's sometimes snow, sometimes rain, but still you have to do it because you know you're going to get 2 pounds. And then after you get your 2 pounds, you are thinking, this is my 2 pounds. You don't waste it. But if the father just gave you 2 pounds pocket money, you just go and buy sweets and other things which you just spend it without thinking twice. But now that you have worked hard and you know the value of this 2 pounds, you're not going to just go and squander it. You're going to save it and buy things you really need. Or if not, you save it up for later on you need to buy something. So the point is that unless until you know the value of money, you'll squander it. So here, by Krishna's grace, he has given us a very valuable currency, 24 hours every day. Now, time is also currency, because in the West we say time is money. So how we use this time is up to us. We can just squander our time away in useless things, or do time management and use time very carefully, that every moment is used for something constructive. And if we use our time properly, then we will have sufficient time for spiritual practice. Otherwise, you will have no time left. Before you know it, it's night, you go to sleep, and next morning you wake up, and the same routine keeps going on in circles. And then you say, well, give some time for reading the scriptures, give some time for chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, I'm very busy. They don't want to do it. But if you do time management, then you can get it. Now in the Western countries, there is this special courses where they teach you how to do time management. And you actually have to pay a good amount of money to learn how to manage your time. But if you're intelligent, then you don't need to spend money to go to learn how to spend your time. Just use your time constructively. So one has to think with intelligence that I have time, how am I going to spend my time? What are my returns in my investment of my time? And if you work very carefully, then you get lots of returns for your time. And especially for one who is seeking spiritual guidance or following spiritual path, for them, it is very important to give quality time for spiritual practice. And if you practice spiritually, then we will have no problems. Okay, I think I will stop in a second. With this last point I will make is one devotee came to Prabhupada and he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I'm a householder. I stay outside. I cannot sit down for 2 hours and chant Hare Krishna and finish my 16 rounds. So Prabhupada said, well, what is the difficulty? You get up in the morning and take your shower and clean up everything. And then, before you go to work, you sit down for half an hour. And you chant 4 rounds. Because generally, if you pay attention to your chanting, then generally in half an hour, you can chant 4 rounds. So you chant 4 rounds, then you go to work, and at work, afternoon, you have a lunch break. You don't need 1 hour, because generally most companies give you 1 hour lunch break. You don't need 1 hour to eat. So you spend half an hour chanting. After you chant 4 rounds, then you consume your sandwiches or whatever packed lunch you have taken with you. And then you get back to work. Then later, when you finish work, when you come home, take a quick shower and get refreshed. Then chant 4 more rounds before you take your evening meal. Then you relax. And then just before going to bed, you chant the other 4 rounds. And then because you have chanted Hare Krishna before sleeping, you're going Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. The mind is going Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. When you're sleeping, it is automatically going on Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So your mind is also still chanting in your sleep. And when you're chanting and you wake up in the morning, you're fresh and energetic. And Prabhupada says, so what is the difficulty? You chant 16 rounds. Basically, Prabhupada was teaching him time management. So we just have to use our intelligence to manage our time for all the activities which we are supposed to perform in the 24-hour period. And if you do it properly, then I will guarantee you that you will get everything done for the day. And you won't have anything left for the next day. Then the next day begins, you can start next day's schedule. And that way your life goes on, and you get everything done without any difficulties. So it's 8:30, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any comments, any questions? No questions? Very good. No comments? Then I suppose you understood what I said. If not, at least I understood what I said. So again, thank you very much for this time.
I have a question, should you allow?
Yes, no problem.
So it is said that you get the same karmic reaction if you do it knowingly or unknowingly. And there is no consideration at all. I mean, there's a huge difference in the legal judgment.
Well, legal judgments are flawed.
Yeah.
You see, they are flawed. And many times you see, for example, you go to, I don't know in Switzerland, but in India they have lower courts, and then they have high court, and then they have Supreme Court. So lower court makes judgment, and you don't like the judgment is not in your favor. So your lawyer will go to high court and appeal. And the high court says, no, we are in agreement with the lower court, it's fine. Then what happens? He's not happy. So he spends some more money with the lawyers and goes to the Supreme Court and tries to overturn the judgment. And sometimes it does happen like that. So I say that, in the mundane world, justice system is a flawed system. But in the Supreme Lord's arrangement, it is very clear. And therefore, very rarely you would do things which are unknowingly. So for example, say you're walking on a path, and this ant is just walking across. Now, you don't know there's an ant there, and you just put your foot there, and under your foot, the ant is killed. So for that, you will probably get a different punishment. But if you look at the ant and go, then it's okay. There's willful killing. So there is some concession. But what I'm saying is that generally speaking, for every sinful activity, there is a karma. Reaction is going to be there. You're going to be punished. Like the sage, he was putting the thorn in the little insect, but he got punishment. And he got killed in a similar way. And then later on, he was also going to get more punishment from Yamaraj, because in his court, he's still not been exempted from the punishment until you fulfill all that. So my understanding is that sometimes there is some leniency shown in the material world, in the judicial system, but in the Supreme Lord's courtyard and his court, there is no leniency. That is why, as a human being, we have been given intelligence to do the things correctly. Animals don't have karma like that. For example, say a lion will kill a deer for his meal. That's fine. He's not going to get karma for killing a deer. But you and I go and kill a deer, then Krishna says, hello, this is not sanctioned for you. So then you have to pay for it. You understand that difference? So we have been blessed by intelligence. We have to use the intelligence correctly. But if we do not, and we remain to stay in ignorance and in darkness, then the Lord cannot help us. But the Lord, He does send many different facilities at your disposal to bring you out of ignorance. He doesn't say, oh, you perpetually stay in ignorance. He makes many arrangements. And that's why also in the purport Prabhupada is saying that the Lord comes again and again to re-establish spiritual practices, because there's forgetfulness. So again, in the Bhagavad Gita, the citation is there, that Krishna is saying to Arjuna that this knowledge which I'm giving to you is nothing new. I already spoke the same knowledge to the sun god many millenniums before, but it's forgotten. So I have come to re-establish again the same knowledge. And then he gives again opportunity to mankind to revive. And if we forget again, then Krishna will come again. So in this case here, Prabhupada is saying that as Kali Yuga begins to get worse and worse and worse, the atheistic class and the non-religious people will be performing all kinds of activities. Then the Lord will come in His Kalaki avatar, and He will annihilate everything. But by annihilation doesn't mean that that's the end of it. Those souls who have been annihilated will get another opportunity when the new dawn begins. Because after Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga begins. So then that souls will be then taking new bodies in Satya Yuga, where the environment is much more better, more favorable and conducive, and they will make progress. So the Lord doesn't say that this is it, you are perpetually in darkness. No. He comes and gives us opportunity. And of course, in this age of Kali, although as we know from the scriptural description that Kali Yuga, as days progresses, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He came. And He came to deliver the most fallen. That is why we sing in this song, Patitta Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar, that you are the most merciful. You have come to save the most fallen. Not save the most elevated, the most fallen. And we are those most fallen people who have got the blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that same spirit of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was carried by Srila Prabhupada to the rest of the world. And today, we are trying to follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada to share the bounty which we have received, the mercy which we have received with others. And we go out on Sankirtan and tell, please wake up here, chant Hare Krishna, take a little prasadam, hear the holy name, and make all kinds of arrangements for them to come out of darkness. So the Lord is always making arrangements to bring people out of darkness. But unfortunately, we want to remain in darkness. But still, we don't give up. We still go out every day in and day out on Harinams, book distribution, prasadam distribution, and try to touch all these souls to wake them up. So my understanding is very clear. The judicial system in the material world is flawed, but the Lord's judicial system is perfect, because the Lord is perfect. Okay? We may not like it, but that's the truth.
Well, it's hard to accept because the child that you described, putting these sticks inside the insect.
Hmm.
It's just playing, you know. I mean, the Lord gave the child the insects to play with.
No, the Lord did not give child insects to play. Insects are minding his own business.
Yeah, but still, it's like the whole arrangement for the child was that he got the opportunity to do this karmic, very bad activity
Yes.
that is arranged by the Lord.
No, it's not arranged by the Lord.
The
You
situation
see, you have to understand this, that the Lord has given you free independence, free choice, free will. You can do whatever you want. But I say that along with this free independence, free will, comes responsibility. And just like any product you buy, they say you buy this product, yes, but there are terms and conditions you have to follow. If you violate these terms and conditions, then the warranty is null and void. So when we are in this material world, as a human being, we are supposed to be trained by the parents, as is mentioned here. The king, the parent, the teachers, they are all responsible because they are representative of the Supreme Lord. So unless until you are not yourself representing the Lord, then you're not going to impart the knowledge and guidance accordingly. So even in the, I think, 7th canto, where Rishabhadev's teachings are there, Prabhupada says, Guru nasasya, Pita nasasya, Janani nasasya. You cannot be a guru, you cannot be a father, you cannot be a mother unless until you deliver your dependence from this cycle of birth and death. So the parents are supposed to be teaching their children. Now we tell our children also, most of the parents say, no, don't do this, that's not good. So you correct them. Now in case of this young boy who later became a sage, he should have learned from his parents that to do harm to innocent insects is not correct. But he wasn't taught these things. And we also, in our own experience, we try to teach our children good things. No parents will say, okay, son, now you're 5 years old, I'm going to teach you something very important. Be the most criminal-minded person. I'll make you the best criminal in the world. No. Every parent wants their child to be the best and try to give them the good guidance. Even the most, accomplished criminal doesn't want his child to be like that. He will give the best to his child. So it is our duty as human beings to guide from right and wrong. And if we fail in our duty, then we can't blame the Lord or the Lord's administration. And then we say, oh, it's hard to believe that the Lord is so unkind. He's not unkind. He has given you all facilities. And therefore, from the very beginning, we have to learn between right and wrong. And then as a responsible adult, when you have your children, you also teach them between right and wrong. And after that, teaching them between right and wrong, and they still do the wrong, nobody can help them. Then they have to face the consequences. That is where the law of karma comes in. Law of karma is not blind. It has got eyes. It sees very clearly and says, this is it. If you do something wrong, you pay for it. You may not like it, but you still have to pay for it. Okay? So, they say, make a good use of a bad bargain. This material world is a bad bargain. Try to make use of it in a good way. And we are very fortunate that we have come to Krishna consciousness. And by the mercy of Prabhupada and all the great Vaishnavas in our society and good association, we are getting good guidance. So we just have to take this opportunity to become a perfect person. As Mahaprabhu says, Sarthakari karo para upkar. Become perfect and then make others perfect. So that is our business. But if you remain imperfect, then we can't make anyone perfect. Okay? Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Chitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha.